Now, the bus industry in South Africa has made a vital contribution to the economic and social development of the country for many, many years. But it has not been without its own challenges, judging by the ever-growing number of fatalities as a result of accidents involving buses. This has raised concerns about compliance in this sector. Joining us now to discuss the challenges facing bus operators is Basil Governder of the Southern African Bus Operators Association. He talks to us from Johannesburg. Mr. Governder, thank you very much for your time. Yes, the contribution that's been made by the bus industry in ferrying commuters cannot be understated. It's very important, and it has led to much of the success that we see in the economy. However, as far as fatalities are concerned, that's a matter of concern. Is this industry in crisis as far as compliance with the road regulations?
Morning, Corey. Yeah, thanks for having me and to your viewers. Crisis, let's just reaffirm, yes, the bus industry broadly has a major role to play in the social well-being, the mobility needs of our citizens of our country, and has played a great role and continues to play a great role. But there's just such a basket of issues that are impacting road-based public transport, not necessarily just bus, but in its entirety. And it seeks to, the time that needs to be afforded to this, it needs to be greater and longer and sustainable. However, crisis in terms of compliance, I think, Koli, I need to give you and maybe the viewers some context. The bus industry has many subsectors. And, you've got the contracted public transport services on behalf of government. You've got tour charter operators within the tourism sector. You've got scholar learner transport, intercity long-distance services, cross-border passenger chartered services. And then sitting amongst all of that, you've got informal and or commercially contracted services.
Yeah.
And then what we mainly see, municipal buses and BRT services. So from a compliance point of view, I can tell you without a doubt, if you speak to compliance, I don't think it's a crisis. It just does highlight the challenges whenever you have an incident with a bus, and given the numbers of passengers that are on board a bus.
Yeah. But
the industry is subjected to a very rigorous and stringent regulatory process.
Yeah.
It goes through twice a year for a certificate of fitness and roadworthy test. So that's compliance that's not applicable in any other industry, Polly. So I think, yes, any incident and loss of lives warrants proper scrutiny and is unacceptable.
Yeah.
But you also have in every sector, like with every aspect of operations, there are certain unscrupulous operators who take shortcuts without an idea. But there's a host of mechanisms and regulations in place. So not a crisis. I wouldn't use the word crisis, but there are incidences that happen that warrant us having to investigate properly and look to the root cause of how that compliance was not followed.
Let me tell you why I'm going to insist on the word crisis, Mr. Governder. I cannot tell you the amount of accidents that we have seen on Moloto Road, and the big contribution there, buses. I'm not saying that that's the only mode of transport that has seen accidents on Moloto Road, but because of the size of these vehicles, that's where you see most fatalities. In the Eastern Cape, I think it was last year, if not the year before that, I remember the Transport Minister Fikile Mbalula descending there because there was a bus which went down a hill. Well, the accident that we saw just last week, again, it talks to that issue. You speak about unscrupulous operators. Does that talk to people who go and bribe the compliance officers who then pass these buses even though they are not compliant? Is that what you are talking to? And that is why I'm saying, therefore, the word crisis seems fit to describe these because there has been many of these accidents.
Yeah, by no means am I diminishing both those incidences, as well as the many on the Molota Road. Lots of lives lost. But unscrupulous in the sense that if I talk from a SABOA perspective, operators and our members subscribe to the codes of conduct, excuse me, and then minimum norms and standards we set to be part of the industry. Now, you will always get operators who don't belong to associations, may go it alone, ghost operators, but it speaks to, I think, also educating the public at large and people who seek to use public transport as to where you can check out whether operators are safe, compliant, and or not. But if you speak to compliance broadly, it's a multi-tiered process. As I said, it starts with the National Public Transport Regulator. Then you've got provincial regulating entities. There's all the entities in place, but I think where we are lacking congruence per se is the enforcement aspect.
All right.
Yeah. So, enforcement cuts across many sectors, district, municipal, provincial, national. And surely if we've got so many tiers together collaboratively, we should be avoiding issues like this of non-compliance.
Yeah.
If indeed, yes.
I like simplifying things, Mr. Governder. If you were to give advice to commuters who use buses as a mode of transport, and they can see that this bus is not fit to be on the road, but because they're desperate, maybe they don't have a choice, they will take the chance to get on that bus, hoping that they will get to their destination alive. What do those people need to do to flag such vehicles?
Certainly, as a start point, if you want advice and direction and we can take it through forward, it's always contact SABOA with any concerns that you have about operators that you believe are not compliant, or you could physically see that's threatening your safety. But the immediate checks and balances would be to get to the local authority and report that. Or, there's processes behind it. Who is actually paying for that service to be rendered to you? So there's an entity. It's too broad to put all on the table, but if members of the public at any stage feel unsafe about operators and or the buses that are being deployed, we have the mechanism to reach out to the different authorities, to contact SABOA and highlight it on platforms like this. So we need to ensure that the minimum standards and compliances required from operators are adhered to. It's a huge task. At any given time, the industry in its totality is well over 25,000 vehicles of various categories, various ages. There's the human element of the driver. There's adherence to labor law principles. There are a basket of issues that could contribute to an incident, but we need to be cognizant on how we deal with it, Collie. And I think authorities have a role to play right at their basic, and perhaps at other times when we talk to the real crisis in transport being the lack of congruence between authorities ensuring that a proper integrated transport system is in place that gives comfort and safety to the users and the public at large.
Basil Governder, thank you very much for your time.